Psalm 23 is probably one of the best loved psalms in the Bible. A lot of people can recite it by heart. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me. In the presence of my enemies, you anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You know, there are places in Scripture that are so powerful, that are so deep, that to say them is almost to experience them. And Psalm 23 is one of those places. As one Bible teacher said, the psalm itself is green pasture. The psalm itself is still water. The psalm itself restores my soul. Psalm 23 is a very personal psalm. There are no references to we or us or they, but only my and me and I and you. This is King David's testimony. King David the man's testimony. David's testimony. His personal experience with God. Speakers have come to this passage in lots of ways. It's been preached lots of ways and in lots of places. It's precious balm to wounded souls. And what makes this a constant, friend, is that it covers all aspects of life. It doesn't just focus on the good stuff. It covers all of life. And it covers all of life with a simple beauty. It speaks of green pastures and still waters, but it doesn't hide the dark valleys. It doesn't hide the enemies and the adversaries. But you know, what comforts us, what helps us, is this psalm's confidence. David really believes this about God. And we realize as we linger over these words that what David writes is not some kind of poetic exaggeration or kind of theoretical theology, ivory tower experience. He's experienced God in these ways. He's heard his voice. He's followed his lead. He's felt his care. And you know, beneath the beauty of these words, there's a solid conviction. And it's a solid conviction which has been formed in the crucible of crisis. Now, it's a fair question. How can I know these things? How can I know these things to be so? This psalm was written 1,000 years before Christ. Well, I think I can know these things because David has left his clues there. Clues right here in this psalm. Notice that in the first 3 verses, David refers to God in the third person. The Lord is my shepherd. He makes me lie down. He leads me. He restores my soul. And then in verse 4 to 5, David shifts, referring to him in the second person. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me. You anoint my head with oil. And then he closes by returning to the third person. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Why does David switch from talking about God with he to talking to God with you? Why does it happen in verse 4? Why didn't he just go on to say, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for he is with me. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. Well, I want to suggest that the change he to the more intimate you happens in verse 4 precisely because it's there that he speaks of the valley. That he speaks of the valley he's walked. He's felt the shadows closing in. Verse 4 describes the crisis point in his life. And in those times, something deep happened between him and God. And you know, we notice that too. We're more prone to talk about God when we're in the green pastures, and we're more prone to talk to God when we're in the dangerous ravine. In the light, we're prone to wander off in pursuit of greener grass, but in the dark, we cling to him. David changes from comments about God to communion with God, because during his valley time, he stayed ever so close to the shepherd, never taking his eyes off him. He had experienced God in a way that it brought him towards intimacy with the almighty shepherd. And this is an intimacy that we can experience. This is an intimacy that we can enjoy and know. And this is the intimacy that Psalm 23 speaks of.